Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to our McCabe and Associates Education Podcast Series. Today, I am delighted to have a special guest with us, Lauren Bigham-Steele. She is from Boomer Benefits, and Boomer Benefits is a firm that works with clients on Medicare and everything there needs to be known about Medicare. So, Lauren, welcome to our podcast series. So thankful that you are here with us today.
Yeah, of course. Happy to help.
Great. Lauren, if you would, just give us a little background about the Boomer Benefits story, history, services, stuff like that, if you would.
Yeah. So Boomer Benefits was started by a brother and sister here in Fort Worth, Texas. They're originally from Michigan, but Dave and Danielle Kunkel. We've been in business for over 20 years, and they are still the owners of our company. And they come into the office all the time, and they're still very involved, which is great. We have over 200 employees. So we've grown quite a bit. When I first started here a little over 6 years ago, we had roughly 40 people. And so to see over 200 now has been quite, you know, an awesome opportunity for growth. And the biggest thing that kind of keeps us standing apart from other brokerages throughout the country that sell Medicare is our client service team. So that was the main thing that when Dave and Danielle started this was they wanted someone to be there for their clients when they called. Instead of having them call, Medicare or a 1-800 number or something, they really just wanted that personalized experience, which is what we ended up growing into. So we have almost 100 people on our client service team, and they just kind of help prevent you having to do a lot of the work for Medicare for yourself. So once you sign up with our sales team, you work with our client service team, and they're really the backbone. And if you have claims, if you get a doctor's bill, if you're moving during the enrollment periods, anything like that, instead of having to call, Medicare or call your insurance carrier or try to figure it out on your own, you just reach out to us. We're all here in the same office located in Fort Worth, Texas, but we help clients all over the country. And yeah, that is pretty much our little spiel.
So it was interesting. I came across a CNBC episode, I think first with Danielle, is where I became known about Boomer Benefits. And then there was another educational seminar that I attended where she spoke as well. So that intrigued me. I went into the Boomer Benefits website. You talk about information. I mean, there's some tremendous videos and fact sheets on Medicare. Uh, Very easy website to maneuver through. I thought it was great. Um, Lauren, how does Boomer Benefits work with investment firms like McCabe and Associates?
Yeah, so we love working with investors and advisors throughout the country. So we like to pair you with people here in our office who are, our tenured employees. So that way you always have someone to refer your clients to. And then which would be Gabe. He was one of the people that we had referred over to him. Or referred over to you guys. He is an awesome person to help out with, but he is someone that would be able to help your clients kind of go over all of Medicare, do a full Medicare 101. Like you had mentioned with our resources, there's just so much misinformation out there on Medicare that, you know, I feel like everywhere you turn, if you, excuse me, I feel like everywhere you turn or you search something and now you're getting AI answers and stuff. So not
Right.
everything is always correct. And we like to really just make sure that we are here to make sure you're getting the correct information. So whether that be online or with one of our agents. And even if you feel like pretty confident with your Medicare knowledge, we still want to go over that with you just to double check and make sure that you have all of the different parts and plans and all of that down. So they would kind of go over all of that with you and then enroll you into the plan that, you see fit for yourself. Our agents do not work off of commission, which is really um, different from other brokerages. Um, our company is paid the commission by the carrier whenever you enroll, but our agents are paid a flat fee for enrolling someone into a plan. So you won't feel like you're being pushed into a certain plan that you're not, you know, wanting to be in necessarily, or feel like you're, going a different route than you originally wanted to. They're really just looking out for the best interest of you, their client, instead of what is going to be best for their wallet.
So really a true
Which is
fiduciary standard as far as what they're looking to match for medical benefits for clients.
right. Yeah. They're really looking at what is going to be best for you financially, health wise, if you travel, like all these different things. If you go the Medigap route, we want to make sure that, you find a plan that is stable and has rates that you can afford. If you go the Medicare Advantage route, make sure that you are on a plan that covers your medications, your doctors, all of those different services. And that's what our
Perfect.
agents can.
So very simple, just a few questions as it pertains to Medicare. What is Medicare? What is Medigap? What is Medicaid?
Mhm. So Medicare is the federally run insurance program for people 65 and older. Also, if you're on disability for 24 months, you do qualify for Medicare as well. Medicaid is a federal program for people with low income. So they're a little bit different. A lot more people that are younger or families and all of that qualify for Medicaid due to the income aspect, while everyone over 65 qualifies for Medicare. And then a Medigap plan is a secondary insurance to Medicare. So they work together. Medicare covers 80% of your medical services, and that leaves 20% open for you to pay on. So Medigap plans cover that 20%.
Got it. And I think we're at a timely call for this discussion, obviously, because we're in open enrollment period now for Medicare enrollees. Um, the different parts of Medicare. So obviously, when you turn 65, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but at age 65, you enroll for Medicare. Part A is basically the initial part. Is that correct? And if you can explain, Part A and what that would cover.
Yeah. So Part A is your hospital insurance. That is a lot of your inpatient care, skilled nursing facilities, hospice. And that something we always say is to think of that as just your room and board for a hospital. So it covers, your stay, your meals while you're in the hospital, all of that. Uh, Part B is your outpatient coverage. So that is your doctor's visits, your lab work, um, anything that you go to the doctor for. That's your Part B coverage. And Part A is what you are paying into during your taxes during your working years. So a lot of people will turn 65 and say, I thought Medicare was free. I've been paying into it for forever. Well, you were paying into Part A. So that is your free part. If you don't qualify for Part A due to you or your spouse's working history, it's about it ranges from like $300 to $500 a month for Part A, but most people do qualify for free Part A. And then Part B, the standard cost is $185 a month, and that is also based on your income. So
Right.
Part B and Part D, which we can get into, um, those are based on your income of how you file your taxes, and so your premiums may vary.
Got it. And Part C, that's where Medicare Advantage would come in. Am I correct on that?
Yeah,
Is that
so Part D is your Medicare Advantage, which kind of is also referred to as a Medicare replacement.
yeah?
Um, so instead of being covered by Medicare at your 80%, you're now covered by a carrier. So Aetna, Humana, however, United Healthcare, those work a lot like your current coverage that you would have, working or using the healthcare.gov because they're HMO and PPO plans. So those kind of work that way, but the premiums are much lower on those plans.
Got it. And the same goes for Part D as well, which is your prescription drug plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it covers all of your outpatient medications. So anything that you're picking up at the pharmacy. And again, those range in pricing. But the good thing about Part D is there is now a cap on the price of medications. So in 2025, it was a $2,000 cap on your covered medications, which is a huge decrease in price from 2024 when it was an $8,000 plus out of pocket. Um, in 2025, they made the Inflation Reduction Act, which brought it down to $2,000 out of pocket, and in 2026, it's 2,100. So that is the most anyone will pay for their medication out of pocket at the pharmacy.
Got it. And I know, Boomer Benefits is call it agnostic when it comes to picking and providing providers, right? Truly an open architecture source for, Medicare Advantage plans and also Part D prescription drug plans. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we really just look at what is in your area, what is, the most cost effective. We're represented with the most top rated carriers. So we're really just looking at what is going to cover you at the time that you're enrolling.
And I know I mentioned, I believe I mentioned, but we have clients that are not only domiciled in Illinois, but spread across the country too. So Boomer Benefits can definitely help with clients that are spread out throughout the United States. Is that correct?
Yeah. So just whenever you reach out to us or if you wanted to look into anything, we just go based off of the address that you have with Social Security. So whenever they ask, whenever like the main state that you give, uh, that we like run quotes and things in is the state that Social Security has your address in. So if you're a snowbird, that's totally fine. We just run everything off of where your like permanent, your most frequently residence is.
Got it. Um, I know you mentioned that we are in open enrollment period now, but when am I eligible to enroll? Not me personally, but when are people eligible to enroll into Medicare? What are the deadlines? What are the penalties if you miss a deadline or anything like that? Maybe you can touch on that topic for a moment.
Yeah. So for eligibility, you can enroll when you are 65, like I mentioned, or if you've been on disability for 24 months. And there's no penalty. So if you decide to continue working, which most people are, they're working past 65. If you continue to work and you have creditable insurance, which means having over 20 employees, you don't have to enroll into Medicare. You can continue just the coverage with your employer. You're totally welcome to go to Medicare, but a lot of people carry spouses or maybe children or something still, so they choose to just keep their employer insurance. Um, I will say most people do enroll into Part A when
Hmm.
they turn 65 because it's free and that's your extra health hospital insurance. But you won't want to do that if you have a high deductible plan because you're contributing to an HSA plan. So that is the biggest really part is that if you have an HSA plan that you are contributing to, you'll want to skip all parts of enrolling in Medicare until you choose to retire. Um, HSAs are seen as another form of health insurance, so you can't have Part A with another form of health insurance. Um, they
Which makes sense. And
for
then I'm sorry. I know we're talking about obviously the different parts and then, Medicare Advantage plans. I actually went through, helping my mother out when she filed for Medicare and then, looking at all, obviously the supplemental side of it. But not only, obviously the parts, but like the traditional Medicare of plan um, G, H, and forgive me because I know there's probably nine of them, but maybe you can touch on the difference between like, obviously if you get a supplemental through Medicare, true Medicare supplemental plans versus going outside of that. What are the two big differences there?
the biggest difference is that on a Medicare Advantage plan, you have a network. So on the Medicare Advantage plans, you have a PPO or an HMO network that you have to stay within for your providers.
Okay.
Um, on a Medicare supplement plan or a Medigap plan, you have access to see anyone who accepts Medicare. So if you travel and are an RVer and you're going to visit your grandkids or whatever, you can see anyone from here to, the other side of the country if they take Medicare. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, your network is a little bit more limited. We've seen where they only are networks in your county. So, or county or like surrounding counties, you may not have a ton of coverage outside of that. So if you do fall, and need help or something, and that's not like complete emergency care, you may not have coverage while you're, in a different state. They are getting more networks. We're seeing Medicare Advantage plans become more robust because we're seeing so many people move to them. So, you know, they are growing networks as we progress, but
Sure.
um, that's like kind of like the main difference between them is that one has, the network restrictions and one has a little bit more open access. Another thing is that Medicare Advantage plans cover things that Medicare supplement plans don't. So
That
Medicare
was my
Advantage
next
plans
question.
offer, yeah. So Medicare Advantage plans can offer gym memberships. They can offer dental coverage, for implants or cleanings and all of that. They can offer hearing aid assistance or um, dental care and all of those different things, where on a Medicare supplement or Medigap plan, those are not covered. You would have to get a standalone plan outside of that, which is, $40 or $50 a month, while on a Medicare Advantage plan, they're covered. So it's just kind of, a little bit of a different coverage. Medicare Advantage plans have out of network costs, or not, sorry, they have max out of pocket costs. That's the word I was looking for.
Got it.
So they, if you're on an HMO plan, you could pay, $4,000 out of pocket max for, your entire year of coverage. That's hospital stays, all of those things. On a PPO plan, you could have a max out of pocket of over $10,000. So it just kind of varies. And then on a Medicare supplement plan, you have a lot lower out of pocket. With Medicare, your premiums are just higher. So they
So
have
the
their
advantage plans
differences.
kind of sound like our most common to workplace benefits, right? When you go into open enrollment and you choose which plan, either PPO, HMO, whether you're in network, out of network, to me, it sounds very similar to that, versus the true Medicare parts. I'm sorry, the plans of those parts are obviously a little bit more robust as far as, what they cover, maybe a little bit less inexpensive, but obviously limited to, dental, vision, that maybe those advantage plans would pick up. Is that correct?
Yeah. So they work a lot like your health plan that you would have under 65, with those extra benefits and everything. And, we all have out of pocket, you know, deductibles and all of that. So
Sure.
a lot of people are used to how Medicare Advantage plans work. It is just up to you on how you want to use your coverage. So
Got it.
it could either be paying a higher premium, but having less out of pocket or services, which would be on a Medicare supplement plan, or paying less for your premium, having extra benefits, but having a little bit more out of pocket if you have to go to the hospital or you're having services completed.
And I don't know if you know this, and I'm not going to hold you any number, but when most people decide to pick which side of that do they want, versus Medicare supplement or a Advantage plan, do you know typically which side people lean most to, or is it all dependent on their own personal situation?
Very dependent, but from what we've seen, I think the math from 2024 was 51% of people, of Medicare beneficiaries, are on Medicare Advantage plans. Um, that is just where we're at. Premiums for Medigap plans are increasing, and so some people are just not able to afford the price of those. If they are, they're keeping them, and that's great. But we have seen a lot of people move to Medicare Advantage plans due to the cost of just the rising rates on Medigap plans.
Sure. And for like, how does it affect high income earners? I know you mentioned, and I know there is a breakdown as far as income, of what increases of premium will go to on Medicare plans. Um, for high income earners, they will pay more, obviously, for income growing annually. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So for Part B and for Part D, so Part B like boy and Part D like drug, there is something called the IRMA, which is the income related monthly adjustment amount. And it kind of depends on how you file your taxes, whether you file them jointly or single.
Yep.
So anywhere from in 2025, that is the only rates we have right now. Um, anything over $106,000 single or 212 joint, you're paying over the $185 amount. So that could range anywhere from $249 to $628, I believe. So that is how much your Part B premium is. And on a Medicare Advantage plan, you still pay your Part B premium, even though you no longer are really like on Medicare, you still pay for the Part B premium.
Sure.
And then for Part D, for your drug plan, that also has the IRMA, and that ranges anywhere from like an additional. So you have your price for your uh, Part D plan, which ranges in 2026. The ranges are like $0 to like $130. So it's up to you, like, whichever plan you choose, but you pay an additional like $13 all the way up to like $85. And that is also on the Medicare Advantage Part 2. If your plan has a drug plan on it, you would pay that IRMA for Part B as well. Part
Sure.
C,
And,
sorry.
and we've been having those conversations with our clients too, as well as, obviously, clients that are in the retirement years, income distributions. We're very cognizant as far as, what clients are taking with income distributions from their investment accounts, and ultimately how that can affect their premiums for Medicare.
hmm Yeah, and they look back 2 years at your income. So in 2026, they'll be looking at your 2024 tax returns, and you can file something called an SS-44 um, appeal form,
Okay.
and that is basically just how you can appeal your premiums down, whether that is you retired in 2025, so you're like, in 2026, I'm not making as much.
Right.
If you sold a property, there's all of these different reasons that you can file for that appeal, and that will help drop your premium down. If you're at that top level, it may not drop it all the way down to the standard amount, but it would at least drop you down, you know, to a lower amount than, paying that $630 a month.
Oh, sure.
Uh, but that form is available, and if you work with one of our agents, we can teach you how to like fill that out and get that all sent into Social Security.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because like I said, that has happened to a few clients that have retired coming off of, a relatively higher income. And then, obviously they get first year Medicare premiums and it's like, wait a minute, I'm not making that income anymore. How can I adjust that? So yeah, thank you for bringing that up and explaining that. That's very helpful.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing to think of if you are still working. When you're looking at your cost comparison between your current employer insurance versus going on Medicare, it is really huge to look at if you would have an IRMA, because if you're like, oh, Medicare is going to be so much cheaper because it's 185 a month plus,
Right.
anything else. It could be a lot different if it's, $658.
Right. Exactly. Um, Talk to us about, Medicare and long-term care. Obviously, we talk to our clients about long-term care planning and those needs, but obviously Medicare does not cover that. Is that correct?
Right, yeah. So Medicare doesn't cover any long-term care. They do cover, like I mentioned, hospice and skilled nursing, which is if you have surgery or something and you're needing a few extra days to recover, they'll pay for that in a skilled nursing facility. But as far as long-term care, there is no coverage on that.
Got it. Got it. Well, I know that we want to always keep our podcasts under about a half hour, which we're basically right there. And then this information has been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing Boomer Benefits story with us and going through the ins and outs briefly of Medicare and how Boomer Benefits can help. I do want to share with our clients, and we do have information. I know Lauren, you mentioned about Gabe. Gabe has been a dedicated Medicare expert. He's assigned to our office for our clients. I do have his contact information here, which we will definitely let our clients know that these services are available. Um, Obviously, this is in addition to what Gabe services can compare and what he does and how he can work with our clients. Um, so I just want to make that known. And like I said, your website has been tremendous, a tremendous resource. I actually did take for myself the Medicare 101 quiz.
Good.
Happy to say I did pass it. But the resources on the website are fantastic. So I just want to say thank you for that. There's countless videos. I believe that Danielle is posting on your website, which basically walk people from the early stages of Medicare to folks that are on Medicare looking to switch plans, possibly when to do that. So I know the resources are great. Anything else that you want to add before we wrap up the podcast?
I don't think so, but like you mentioned with the resources, we have calculators on there. So if you want to look at your IRMA and see, how much you'd be paying, there is an IRMA calculator on there. If you ever wanted to just see about, if you may have a penalty, which you more than likely wouldn't, but if you would, there's penalty calculators. There's everything on there. Our YouTube channel, any social media, you will find us. And um, yeah, we're just happy to be a resource for you and help you get all of your Medicare situated.
Fantastic. Lauren, thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. And then, our clients, we will direct you to how to get in contact with Gabe at Boomer Benefits, should there be any questions or needs for Medicare planning. So thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Of course, yeah, no problem. Thank you.